Every time you fly, your life depends on a shape you've probably never noticed. Cars have square windows. Houses have square windows. Even trains do. So why don't airplanes? Because at 35,000 feet, every airplane is quietly trying to burst apart. Offside, there's barely enough air to breathe. Inside, the cabin is kept comfortable, creating enormous pressure on the aircraft's skin. So why could one tiny corner bring an entire airplane down? Engineers call this stress concentration. Sharp corners force pressure into one tiny area, making cracks far more likely. Every flight, the airplane expands slightly and shrinks again during landing. Engineers call this a pressure cycle. Metal doesn't fail because it's weak. It fails because tiny stretches repeated thousands of times slowly damage it. Those cracks are almost invisible, thinner than a human hair. A sharp corner doesn't create more force. It squeezes the same force into a much smaller area. Imagine thousands of people leaving a stadium through one tiny gate. That's exactly what stress does at a sharp corner. Engineers even measure this effect. It's called the stress concentration factor, or simply KT. In 1952, the world's first commercial jet airliner changed aviation forever. It was called the Comet. It flew higher, faster, and smoother than anything passengers had experienced before. Then, without warning, comets began falling from the sky. The engines worked. The weather was clear. Pilots reported nothing unusual. Investigators recovered thousands of wreckage pieces from the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. Piece by piece, they rebuilt the entire airplane like a giant jigsaw puzzle. Then investigators noticed something strange. Every crack started in almost the same place. It wasn't the engines. It wasn't the wings. It was a crack smaller than your fingernail. With every flight, the crack grew a little longer. Too small to see, but impossible to stop. Then, one flight, the metal reached its limit. To prove the theory, engineers built one of the most famous experiments in aviation history. They pressurized the airplane again and again, simulating years of flying in just weeks. And then, exactly where they predicted, the crack appeared. The solution wasn't stronger metal, it was a smarter shape. A curve spreads force evenly, leaving no single point overloaded. Nature has used curves for millions of years, from eggs to bones to blood vessels. That's why modern airplanes don't just have rounded windows. Their doors, hatches, and cockpit openings are rounded too. During every flight, the fuselage quietly expands by just a few millimeters. Yet these tiny curves survive millions of pressure cycles, carrying billions of passengers safely. Every time you look through an airplane window, you're looking at one of engineering's greatest safety lessons. The strongest designs aren't always the biggest. Sometimes they're simply the smartest.